The pathways of Hollow Haven curved through the mountain tree's heartwood, worn smooth by generations of footsteps. Lyra walked among her neighbors. The lamp tender with his careful hands, the songkeeper humming beneath her breath, the children who should have been dreaming of flying, but who now watched the sky with worried eyes. The village had been carved into the third ring centuries ago, chambers and corridors following the tree's natural grain. It held them all like a wooden embrace, safe, she thought, and small. The ring hall opened before her, vast as a cathedral, its walls the living wood of the tree itself. Fungi glowed softly along the curved ceiling, casting everything in gentle blue-green light. The other archivists were already gathering, their faces turned toward the center, where Elder Moraine stood, ancient and patient as the tree itself. The elder's voice, when it came, was soft as falling leaves, and just as inevitable. "Someone must climb to the canopy," she said, "higher than the seventh ring, where the last expedition had vanished 3 years past." The stars were forgetting themselves, and only in the highest branches, where dream and waking tangled together like roots, could the answer be found. A deep dreamer was needed, someone who could walk between sleeping and waking, someone who could navigate the liminal spaces where reality grew thin. Lyra felt the weight of eyes upon her, familiar eyes, knowing eyes. Her technical skill was renowned. Her careful records were precise. But her chest tightened with a fear she could not name. Because she had not experienced a true deep dream in 6 years. Not since the fire that took her sister. Not since she had closed that door inside herself and learned to live in the shallow waters of other people's sleeping minds. She found them in the oldest part of the tree, where the bark grew thick and gnarled with centuries. Dream echoes. They clung to the wood like morning dew, shimmering like oil on water. Their colors shifted between memory and longing. Now gold, now violet, now the deep blue of forgetting. Lyra had catalogued thousands of dreams in her archive, but never like this. These were raw, wild things, unprocessed and uncontained. They pulsed with their own rhythm, breathing in time with something she couldn't name. Yet her hands moved by instinct, reaching for her brushes and pigment bottles, the tools of her trade. She would capture them, preserve them, make them knowable. When she touched her finest brush to the nearest echo, a trembling sphere of rose-colored grief, it slipped away like smoke, dissipating at the contact. Again she tried, and again they evaded her. But her dream echoes wouldn't allow themselves to be transcribed from a distance. They demanded something else entirely. Something that made Lyra's carefully constructed walls begin to tremble. The starlight gathered here like water in a bowl, pooling silver across the luminous moss that carpeted the highest platform. Lyra knelt slowly, her archival tools forgotten at her side. She felt the soft phosphorescence yield beneath her knees. The air was thin and cool, carrying the scent of night-blooming flowers and something else. Something like ozone before rain, electric with possibility. Her breath came shallow, each inhalation a small act of courage. Kessa. The name left her lips for the first time in 3 years, and something in her chest, Something that had been clenched tight as a fist, loosened. Just a fraction. Just enough. Kessa. The tears came then, quiet and steady as the rain that sometimes fell through the canopy on summer evenings. They traced warm paths down her cheeks, catching the starlight. And Lyra did not wipe them away. She let them fall as she began to speak, her voice soft but certain in the silver-washed darkness. "You sang terribly," she said, and felt a smile break through the grief, like sun through clouds. "You left half-drunk cups of mint tea on every surface. You laughed too loud at your own jokes, especially the bad ones. Each detail emerged like a bird released from cupped hands. Imperfect, alive, flying free. Not preserved in amber on bark scroll, but offered to the night with trembling honesty. You were brilliant and messy, and you never put your tools away properly. And I..." Her voice caught. I miss you. I miss all of you, not just the perfect parts." Above her, something changed. A star that had been dark for months. A star she'd marked in her charts, worried over its dimming, flickered once. Twice, then bloomed into steady, radiant light. The illumination washed over her like benediction, like forgiveness, like love itself made visible. It touched her upturned face with warmth that had no heat, only presence. And Lyra understood, with sudden, crystalline clarity. The stars were not dying from lack of remembering. They were dimming under the weight of memories held too tightly. Dreams archived, but never truly felt. Her people, herself most of all, had been gripping so hard, preserving so perfectly, that they'd stopped allowing themselves to simply witness. To feel the full weight of love and loss together. Then gently, with gratitude, let both settle into the past, where they belonged. Its stars needed witnesses, not preservers. Hearts willing to hold grief and joy in the same breath. Then release both with open hands. Lyra rose slowly, her limbs heavy with exhaustion, but her chest strangely, wonderfully light. The luminous moss left faint glowing impressions on her knees that faded as she stood. She looked up at the newly lit star, at the thousands of others scattered across the vault of sky, and felt something she hadn't allowed herself in years. Hope. Not the desperate hope of someone clinging to what was, but the quiet hope of someone ready to meet what comes next. She turned toward the descent, leaving her archival tools where they lay. Someone would find them, or they wouldn't. Either way, she no longer needed them, not in the same way. Her hands found the first handhold by instinct, and she began the long journey down through the moonlit canopy. The descent was slower than the climb, dreamlike in its gentle progression. Her body moved by memory, while her mind drifted in a new, unfamiliar way. She realized with distant wonder that she was dreaming while awake. Or perhaps, finally, allowing herself to dream at all. Images floated through her consciousness, not rigid, perfect as bark scroll paintings, but flowing and shifting, changing with each viewing, olive rather than fixed. She saw Kessa teaching her to mix pigments, the memory now holding both the warmth of her sister's patience and the ache of her absence. She saw the other dream weavers, all of them clutching their archives like shields against feeling. She saw her village below, the amber lights of Hollow Haven glowing softly in the trunk's carved windows. And, for the first time in years, she felt she was returning home, rather than retreating to a sanctuary. Branch by branch, handhold by handhold, the understanding settled into her bones. Her people had been doing what she did, holding their memories so tightly that the dreams themselves had grown heavy. They had burdened the very stars with the weight of perfect preservation, mistaking documentation for devotion, archives for love. A night bird called somewhere in the darkness, its voice clear and sweet. Lyra paused in her descent, one hand on smooth bark, still warm from the day's sun, and listened until the song faded into silence. Even that, she thought, even that moment of beauty deserves to be felt and released, not captured and kept. By the time she reached the lower canopy, where the branches thickened and the air grew warmer, dawn was beginning to paint the eastern sky with pale gold. She could see the village clearly now, smoke rising from early cooking fires, figures moving between the carved dwellings. Her home, her people. So tomorrow, today, really, she would gather the dream weavers. She would show them what she had learned in the high places where starlight pooled and grief became grace. So together, they would learn a new way, not to forget, but to remember with open hands. How to choose what to hold close and what to release, with gratitude and love. To be witnesses to their own lives, not merely archivists of moments already past. Lyra's feet touched the broad platform of Hollow Haven's entrance as the sun cleared the horizon. A golden light flooded through the canopy, igniting every leaf. And above, high above, where she had knelt and wept and finally let go, the stars faded gently into morning, their light not extinguished but resting, waiting for the night to come again. For hearts brave enough to witness them without demanding they shine forever. She stood in the doorway of her home, looking back up at the vast tree that held her world, and felt the exhaustion of the long night settle into her muscles, like a familiar blanket. Delita's sleep would come easily now. And with it, she thought, perhaps dreams that were truly her own, wild and unarchived, felt fully and released freely. Like breath, like starlight, like love,